The Last Jedi. We revisit this controversial film with our new thoughts. And is that a new host in our studio? All that today on Chatter Squadron.
Stay good.
They do look great. His earlobes aren't that long, and so he's not ancient. But yeah, hey Ben Burt. He is. Oh, his birthday was last month, July 12th.
Happy birthday, Ben Burt.
Happy birthday, Ben
Merry
Burt.
birthmas.
Okay, what are we going to be rambling about?
I was gonna say we could have come in from just now talking about Ben Burt's birthday. Happy Ben birthday,
Oh.
July 12th.
Did you
Last
just
month.
welcome? Did you congratulate July? What was it? 12th?
Yes.
You congratulate July 12th for being Ben Burt's birthday.
Yes.
That's incredible. Congratulations to you, July 12th.
July 12th has been blessed to contain Ben Burt's birthday.
Wow, Ben Burt's birthday. That's almost as good as Burt's Bee's birthday.
He's dead.
Killed by bees.
Bert of this just in. That's the millionaire sound effect, not the news.
This just in.
Not a news stinger.
We're here on the set of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I got news to tell you.
And the news is that Bert of Burt's Bees is dead,
Incredible.
killed by bees.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chatter Squadron, your weekly dose of Star Wars fun and positivity. My name is Tyler Buck, sat across from Mike Calhoun and Tabitha Jones? Is that you?
I hope so.
It's Tabitha Jones. Tabitha
clap
Jones, if
in the
anyone doesn't know, she is a very good, very famous comedian from the Cleveland area. She's incredible. She has been a good friend of the show from the very beginning. And once again, this episode, we're going to be talking about The Last Jedi. There's something that connects her with us when it comes to The Last Jedi, and we'll get to that after the break. Tabitha, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Are you excited or are you concerned?
I wouldn't say concerned. I'm excited, and then I'm whatever's between excited and concerned.
What's your feeling in terms of a shade of blue?
Periwinkle. Wait, that's too calm.
Periwinkle. I thought that was a pattern. Isn't that like a floral thing?
Periwinkle. No, are you thinking
You're right.
Paisley?
I am thinking
Houndstooth?
of Paisley.
Yeah.
You are totally right.
Periwinkle's that nice blue. I was trying to think of something else.
I'm
that it was
envisioning
like.
it perfectly.
Welcome to the Blue Podcast, where we talk about blue. Navy. Ugh.
Yuck.
Don't
Yeah.
even get us started on
Too
Navy.
common.
Can I tell you about how I feel about indigo?
Oh, that's next week.
Okay, all right. I'll hold my notes on that one.
Speaking of Navy and speaking of wars, Johnny is not here this week. We don't know. We hope he'll come back next week, but he's currently fighting in a war in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
On the Isle of, what was that island again?
Prince Edward Isle.
Yes, he's fighting for the freedom of that isle.
Yeah, he's fighting for the freedom of Prince Edward Island.
It's just Johnny, though.
Yeah,
There's no one else.
He has a couple. So we're talking about The Last Jedi. We're going to revisit it. He sent us a note via carrier pigeon.
Oh, he did.
Some of his comrades was helping him contain his thoughts on The Last Jedi, but we'll get to that after the break.
Oh, good.
But this week, Tabitha Jones is going to be kind of weighing in as someone
Only kind of.
She's going to kind of be weighing in on things. We talk about Star Wars a lot, and it's usually just the three of us, and then we kind of talk in circles when it comes to things because, yes, things develop, but at the same time, when we're talking about, like, say, Rian Johnson or something like that, we're probably going to say similar things to what we hear. So, Tabitha, just give us the raw meat of your thoughts.
I won't cook the meat of my thoughts before I give them to you.
Oh, perfect. She was rubbing her hands together as schemingly as possible.
Are we talking about the news story?
The news story
regarding Rian Johnson?
Yeah, let's start with that because then we
can get those thoughts out. That is, I think we all have some heavy thoughts.
This comes from our good friends at the Star Wars Hub. My friend from there, Connor, wrote a article. It was titled "Star Wars Backlash: Disney Stops Rian Johnson's Trilogy After Last Jedi fan boycott, ? That's not true. Basically, I don't want to get too much into his article because he goes in depth as to what's going on. But the person who wrote it,
So wait 1 second. I feel like we were confused at first.
Sorry.
The article that your friend wrote is debunking an already present article that made that claim.
Exactly. That was the original article. The article he wrote was debunking clickbait. No, Disney hasn't stopped Rian Johnson's trilogy.
Yep.
It was express.co.uk. They were the ones who said Disney stops Rian Johnson's thing. What he looked into, my friend, at the Star Wars Hub was the person who wrote it. I believe it's Stefan. There's a thing on this show,
Molyneux?
Tabitha, that I can't read people's names. How would you say that?
I would say Stefan.
I would say Curiasis,
Curiasis.
Okay.
Stefan Curiasis.
but that's very Americanized. And we'll just have to go with
Oh, Stefan Curiasis.
Curiasis.
Curiasis. Basically, the whole thing is that he has written a lot of clickbait articles in the past.
Of course.
And then
Why is he still right?
And then when it comes to this article, I read it. Gosh, and what I saw was the whole thing that kind of goes into it is the whole stopping the production of the side movies. That's still a thing.
Oh, huh.
But the issue is they got an inside source saying they're like slowing that sort of thing down, and he took the news of that they are specifically slowing down like Boba Fett and these types of things, and turned it and said because of Rian Johnson's backlash, they're going to slow down his trilogy too. Basically, the whole thing is it's not a founded source. No one's come out and said directly that this is what's happening, but that's sort of where we stand.
But also, so regardless of needing to debunk whatever may have been in the original article,
Right.
the title alone is already a fallacy because there was no boycott.
No,
There
yeah.
was, okay, there were people that may have not seen it, and then there was that rumor of a boycott happening online. But all we have to do is look at how much money it made, compare it to the other movies, and say, oh, there is no evidence for any effect on these movies at all.
And also, the boycott doesn't really make sense because people didn't hate the movie before it came out.
Exactly. No, it was actually, it was
Yeah.
extremely, we were all excited. It was all positive
Exactly.
information.
And 9 times out of 10, when you hear about there being a big uproar and a big like boycotting of a film, it's from the get-go.
Yeah.
It's from the first announcement or the first trailer, or I remember some like skepticism like around when the first trailer came out of just like, okay, like let's see how things are gonna go. But if you're gonna say that there's a boycott of something,
Right.
and it's just people after they saw it being like, I don't think I want to watch this again.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not a boycott.
Not at all.
It's sort of
That's
a
backlash.
it's
Yeah.
it's backlash. It's sort of a boycott of buying the DVD. You know what I mean?
like they need help with, yeah.
So, Tabitha, you know that Lucasfilm is planning to give Rian Johnson his own trilogy, basically. Basically, he wants to do something brand new that we haven't seen before. What's your thoughts on that in general?
I mean, in the long run, I think it's good, because I think that's where we're getting to with, because not so many people, but I hear a lot of people be like, oh, as soon like as the new trilogy kind of started, they were more afraid of just getting a lot of the same thing right off the bat.
Right.
Where it's just retellings of all of these stories we've already heard, all these plot lines we've already heard. And I know that was something that I myself was a little skeptical about, of just like, if it just gets to kind of be a rehashing of the same thing, it's gonna get a little just like, okay, like, yeah, it's fun, but like, I want more. So like, I'm very excited. I'm obviously not as deeply entrenched.
What are your thoughts specifically on the fact that Rian Johnson's going to do it? Do you have any reservations, or are you just like, hey, bring it on? More
or less, just like, bring it on. Let's see what you can do. Like, I know I know that a lot of people are a fan of, Ryan Johnson's other work and other directorial
Pursuits.
Yeah. So it's I'm eager to see, like, let him do what he wants to do.
I've always said that the fact that they're having to do episodes 7, 8, and 9 is almost a hindrance to Disney kind of doing what they see Star Wars should be. Mm-hmm. Now, that might not make sense to some people, but what I'm saying is it seems like they want to tell new stories. They want to tell a bunch of that type of thing. And that's very obvious with the backlash to The Last Jedi because it was very different. Mm-hmm. Very different, there's a lot of new things that happen there that a lot of people could say, this doesn't seem like the Star Wars I was expecting or that type of thing. But what it was Ryan Johnson basically telling a brand new story. And that's sort of the thing too. A lot of people, they just want to see Luke and Leia and Han do their thing again and all that, and they don't care about the new characters.
And everyone wants to turn back time and make sure they're young again.
Yeah.
Don't we all wish that we could have gotten? Of course we do, but we don't have that option.
Right.
Exactly.
And if we want to see those 3 do cool stuff, there's 3 movies about them.
Exactly. That's always been one of my favorite things about Star Wars, is that it isn't just, here are the Star Wars movies, and that's what you can do with them. Mm-hmm. It's the entire expanded universe. It's the books.
Right.
It's the comics. It's the other shows. And it's like there's so much obviously going on that can be elaborated on, or you can make stories around. Like, why would you want to just have the same thing over and over when you have this this vast, expansive universe,
right,
with all of these planets and all of these different characters and all of these different kinds of aliens and monsters and people, and you just want the same thing?
Well, I'll get to that when we talk about The Last Jedi, too, because there's a lot of stuff that happens in there when it comes to, like, the Force and random stuff that, like, people didn't like, oh, the Force can do that. And it's like, what do we just want to see people push around stuff?
Yeah.
Make rocks float.
I can lift a rock.
Exactly.
Woo-hoo.
And so
open some doors.
And I'm also laughing a little bit. Calhoun's wearing a Star Wars tank top. Look at Luke's abs on that thing.
He's ripped.
Oh my gosh! It also doesn't look anything like Mark Hamill.
But look at Leia's like super thighs as well. Like she is.
Oh my god!
Mega. She looks like Chun-Li.
His entire torso just makes up Jabba's face. Look at that.
Oh, and Leia's attached to his torso with a chain.
It's a fun shirt. I saw it the very cartoony art, and I had to get it.
So we'll come back to Ryan Johnson and everything, but as of right now, the stuff that's being pushed around about the cancellation, it's not founded yet.
Also, I was bringing this up off microphone. That publication, express.co.uk, has anyone ever read anything from them that mattered?
Right.
Like, why would that be a news source that you trust?
All I know is they have good suits there.
Well, express.com. You know what? Never mind. I think you're just confused.
Let's talk about Star Wars La Resistance. Yes, Kevin?
I was going to say a lot of cool stuff happened with this. Well,
yes.
One particular thing, but it shows a lot of cool stuff.
One large cool thing, which happens to be that we got to see the first trailer for La Resistance. Mm-hmm. I also realized people have told me that they actually thought the show was called La Resistance because we call it La Resistance. It's Star Wars Resistance for anyone who wants to look it up. The new trailer, it's pretty cool. It looks like a kid's show, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's animated, but it's 3D, and to make it look kind of 2D, it's cell shaded.
Sort of like Borderlands.
Yeah. You always use that example, but I think it's the most universal example.
Well, what
I would use Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, but that's a very obscure example.
Right, nobody has played Zelda before.
No, never.
What do you think, Tabitha? Do you think it looked a little kid-like, or... Yeah.
It definitely looked a little like, okay, like not what I expected right off the bat.
Right.
But it definitely looked a little, and it's I don't want to say childish because that comes off with a negative connotation. Mm-hmm. But I think it looks like a lot of fun, and I don't think that the animation's going to take away from that.
Oh no, I think the animation, if anything, is the strongest thing it has going for it right now. The one thing I see it being maybe kid-like is the main character seemed very. Oh, I can't wait to be a pilot.
Yeah,
Right,
you know,
falling on stuff
Exactly.
and like getting
Whoa!
dizzy. Yeah.
See, that's why Tabitha's on here. She understands my.
I get it.
I think it looks like a lot of fun, like just good fun.
Right.
It's super bright. It's very brightly lit.
I was going to say those colors were just like in
Bam.
your face.
Do you have the list of characters
sure
up?
do.
Because I'd like to talk about some of them. I forget who the name of the main character is.
Kazuda Shiono.
Kazuda Shiono. That's the guy who is like, what would it be like to be a ace pilot?
Yeah. It
Which-
looks to be that it's taking place in like a flight school, like a resistance flight school.
Yeah.
Maybe not a school necessarily, but a training facility, because they were in the different sequences. They were flying through rings, and I felt like it was very Star Foxy. It was cool.
Someone gonna say do a barrel roll?
Yeah, it's gonna be Poe over the radio.
Do a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll.
What else? Falco would always say something snappy at you. He'd always be like, "I got this one, Fox."
Yeah, I don't know what he would say. I didn't play that much Star Fox. I know I didn't have an N64.
It's
sadly.
fine. What are some of the names of the other people?
There's Orca, Tam Rivora, Jarek Yeager, Tora Doza, Niku, and this is a guy named Hype Faison.
Yeah.
And there's a person named Flix. And then, of course, there is General Leia Organa. So Leia's in it,
Yeah.
played by Rachel Butera.
Is that Bobby Moynihan voicing Orca?
That is Bobby Moynihan.
If that's
yes.
not one big fat joke, I'm gonna be really, really sad. I'm just like, it's Bobby Moynihan is this like just like fat little guy, and it's just like I'm Orca, like
He only says I'm Orca.
I'm Orca, and then like anytime he goes to like do whatever he needs to do, he just makes whale noises. Where he's just like,
So you hear a bunch of people in Kazuda's like comm. They're behind you. They're this. They're that. I need cover. I'm coming, Orca.
no, Orca, no.
We did see a lot of water in this
What if
show.
he's an actual orca?
We did see those like
Sorry, I was drinking while you guys made that joke.
in Rebels. We did see those hyperspace traveling whales. Basically,
You're right.
Might just be a friendly old space whale. Hey
And
guys.
the only difference is that it's spelled with a K.
A
Hey,
friendly old
guys.
space whale
I
played
saw
by
that
Bobby
you're.
Moynihan.
I saw that you're flying some ships. Want to go into hyperspace?
Okay.
It's just Kazuda's friend. He falls into the water and he makes a friend with an orca.
That's like the
And it's
water.
Bobby Moynihan.
It's the water level of the show.
Bobby Moynihan's doing a lot of good stuff. He's doing a show on Cartoon Network called Wilderness Man, I think. There you go. That's all I have on that.
That's
I
all I've
haven't
got.
watched it.
The fresh scoop
Yeah, I
right off the press.
Gave you that scoop.
Thanks for joining in for Chatter Squadron's Bobby Moynihan 5 seconds.
We might have to revisit this. Like, all right, and now for the Bobby Moynihan segment. Let's find out what he's doing on Resistance. Oh, he is a whale. We found. He turns out he is in fact.
I'm
an orca.
gonna go home and I'm just gonna draw a picture of a giant orca with like a lightsaber, and I'm just gonna be like, guys, confirmed.
Can you please do that?
This is Bobby Moynihan's character.
I
in
really want you to
Resistance.
Photoshop his like eyes and mouth and beard onto the orca as well. Please do that.
I'm trying to pull up an image of Orca to see if there's a picture of him.
There's just a
While you do that-
lightsaber sticking out of his blowhole.
Like a narwhal.
He can't grip it with his flippers.
Other casting news, obviously in the trailer, if you were to watch for Star Wars
Wait,
La Resistance.
sorry, I found a picture of him.
Oh, jeez. That is clearly Willy from Free Willy. No, it's not, because he doesn't have a turned over dorsal fin.
I just found, for the listener, I just found a picture of a whale.
Now, that's a happy, healthy orca whale in the wild.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Good. Calhoun is just like, good one, Tyler. Anyway.
I was just trying to say that Oscar Isaac is a guest voice actor, which we probably guessed that he's only in like the pilot episode.
Where he tells him, hey, do this, and then he's gone.
Gone immediately. But
I gotta go do so much bigger things in the expanded universe.
Yeah. I have to go and make sure I don't die. I have to leave this show immediately so my character doesn't die.
The longer I'm on screen, the more close I am to
it's
death.
Like an exponential threat whenever Oscar Isaac is on screen that he will be murdered. But Gwendolyn Christie will also be in the show as Captain Phasma.
Yeah, and we speculated, so this show looks a lot like an anime, but 3D, that everyone's hair seems pretty normal, right? But she may take her helmet off at some point and have Yu-Gi-Oh-esque hair.
This would
yellow, spiky.
This would be perfect because, well, we'll get to this in the discussion period, but we might never see her live action ever again. So this is the opportunity for them to remove her helmet and have crazy anime hair. This is the only way she can do it.
Did you guys ever watch Adventure Time?
Yeah.
I did not.
Okay, were you watching when Finn finally takes off his hat?
Yes.
And he has glorious blonde hair.
It's like very shaggy, just like cute, just like curly little hair. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be her.
That's gonna be her. She's gonna have Finn's hair.
Yeah, she's
That'd
gonna
be
have
amazing.
unless she uses.
I don't know the context.
Unless she uses that Boba Fett conditioner that you don't get helmet head if you wear it.
That's probably what she does use.
Exactly. Well, she's good friends with Boba in Johnny's what he wants to
In
see
his fan fiction,
in his
yeah.
fanfic.
In his predictions.
I think I might want to see that as well.
I think
What
the
episode
world
was that?
wants
Well,
to-
we'll direct you and the listener to our archive where Johnny writes a fictional story and Jango Fett and Gwendolyn Christie as Phasma.
Well,
are
it was
friends.
Boba Fett.
Oh, excuse me, Boba Fett.
Because Boba Fett follows in his father's footsteps.
And it couldn't possibly be Jango Fett. I misspoke.
What stories will the new films tell? That's what that episode is from.
So go find that one and listen to Johnny's insane prediction.
And that
They're best
came
friends.
out. That came out July 17th. So that means it was really close to
Ben
Ben
Burt's
Burt's
birthday. Happy congratulations to July 12th again.
Right, of course.
For being Ben Burt's birthday.
We would give you a thumb up, but we don't know if we can give thumbs up to days.
I can't give it to a day of the year because they keep coming back. You know, there's more than one.
That's true. And also, you couldn't give one to Jango Fett because they keep coming back.
Yeah,
there's
just
more of him.
so many of him. I
Right.
couldn't. It would be endless. We'd have to have 1 billion episodes. I mean, we're already planning on that, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. At this point, we're about to split up our episodes into one episode for each minute.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
And you get daily, constant content.
They're a lot easier to download, but you have to do a lot of tapping to get to them all.
Right. Work out those fingers. That's what we're here for. That's it.
That's all.
No. All right. We're going to go and we're going to talk about The Last Jedi. So we talked about it when it first came out. We've talked about it as it's been out. Mm-hmm. But this is the first time we are really going to devote an episode to it again. The backlash, our feelings on how we, what we don't like, what we do like. Also, the boycott. I'm just kidding. That doesn't exist. All right. We'll be right back after this break. Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in.
Hello.
Where's the counter?
Yeah, this way, miss. This way, dear.
Come
This
here,
way.
sir, and your beautiful wife. Welcome to.
You calling beautiful?
Welcome to Hat.
Sure, he's calling you beautiful, of course.
thank you.
Welcome to Hats Emporium, the Hat Palace of Pourers.
Yes, we are looking for hats.
Yes.
My wife here is blind, as you can see, and
I can see. I can't see that I'm blind.
As he can see, dear. Just step over there for a moment. Yes,
She keeps running into my stock. Can you kind of pull her in?
Yes, there we go. She's steady. And I just, my young man, I just wanted to say that in order for her to get a feel, you might say, for the hats, she has to touch all the hats. So what do you have to offer?
Well, I would say,
come here, dear. Come here.
I would say, try out, check it, feel this hat. Now, if you see, it has a great bridge to it, and it has a great fabric going on, and also stitched on it, it says, follow Chatter Squadron on Instagram at Chatter Squadron, all one word.
Why is it in Braille?
Oh, well, I was trying to work my way into the unseen hat market.
Didn't know that was a large market.
Well, we're very fortunate that he did, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Now, tell me more about this Chatter Squadron.
Well, it's a
Chatterton Squad.
It's a great podcast that my brother, he cleans their place. So I talk to them sometimes, and I'm a big fan of the Star Wars.
Wonderful. Oh, okay. Oh,
So-
I see it's on this other hat. Dear, touch this hat. Feel it.
Yes,
Oh,
this
that's-
hat, as you can see,
This alligator?
it's very large. You have alligator, you have some feathers, and if
Yes.
you see on the inside, it's stitched. Follow Chatter Squadron on the Facebook page, Chatter Squadron, a Star Wars podcast, where you can join their conversations there.
Oh,
Okay, well, why would you put it on the inside?
Well,
Yeah.
just in case you need to remember
It is
it.
an alligator's mouth. What if I put my head inside of it?
Yes,
Like
you
a
can
hat?
put.
Like this?
That's exactly how you're supposed to wear it,
I
sir.
see it. It comes over the head. And, I can still read. Look at that. Chatter Squadron. Oh, look at this.
Yes.
I can still see it in my peripheral.
Exactly.
You want to put it on? I know you can't see what you look like, dear,
dear.
but you look fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
This well, before you leave with that perfect alligator hat, here is my pinnacle of hats, which is it just looks like a normal dad hat, right? With the 5 stitching and everything.
Yes.
But if you turn it over, it says, now subscribe to Chatter Squadron on their YouTube channel, because for your wife, especially to enjoy, they're showing all of their episodes coming soon in a visual format.
Are you being cheeky with me?
Well,
I
you
think
get a-
he's being quite.
you get a little smart with
We
me?
have explained very kindly what we were here for, to touch these hats because my wife is visionless.
Jethro, don't let him get away with this.
No, he's running away. Come back here, young man.
no, I was just trying to come back.
No, we don't. You know
this-
what? We'll take this whole store. I'm buying this hat store.
Oh, you know what? I've been trying to get this off my hands for a long time. That would be a great deal, sir.
Oh no!
You know what?
Fallen
No, I
into
don't want
something
him to be
here.
happy.
He's very happy.
Well, I actually already have you signed this contract.
Oh no! He signed that contract to walk in the door.
Yes.
I can't see it. I don't know why I should.
Yeah, and you signed it, Miss. You signed it in Braille, and it looks.
I can't sign anything in Braille, you idiot.
poked tiny holes into it.
So
Morse code.
luckily, you guys have bought my store, and I can finally go and support Chatter Squadron in all kinds of ways, being social media and financially, sending them money. I can't wait to do this even more. Thank you guys. I'll catch you guys later. Oh, it's a piece of junk. This thing doesn't work. I
Could have told you that.
Algorica's like hunched over. Oh man.
I haven't seen that movie since I think 8th grade.
Welcome to Chatter Squadron's Napoleon Dynamite review.
That's a good. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. We're talking about my favorite movie of all time, which is Napoleon Dynamite, which is true. I think. No, we didn't talk about that. This is a weird memory I'm having. We didn't talk about that in this show ever. We talked about it on your old show, Calhoun.
About Napoleon
The
Dynamite?
Unbelievables. We talked random acts of questioning.
Oh, I
You
do.
pulled-
I remember random acts of
You
questioning.
pulled a thing out of the jar from Big Bertha's Burrito Barn.
Yep.
And the question was, what's your favorite movie? So we talked about Empire Strikes Back during that. But also I ended on saying Napoleon Dynamite is my favorite movie of all time.
Now, what's funny is random acts of questioning became questions from Lorne Michaels, which we framed as actual questions from the producer of SNL, Lorne Michaels. And we said that he sent them via carrier pigeon. But then it got changed again to questions from Lauren Michaels because
Chad do that?
Actually, no, Chad initiated
The Lorne Michaels,
Michaels part.
yeah.
And then it changed to Lauren Michaels, who was just a girl that Johnny kept saying was my girlfriend. But
In high school, I believe.
In high school, but in reality, it was a girl who had a crush on me. In reality, she doesn't exist.
Oh, perfect.
So
Good,
here,
it's no one.
so let's get to The Last Jedi in a second here. But if you didn't know, Mike and Johnny had a long-running show called The Unbelievables, and you can go to oh gosh, this is crazy. You can go to an episode of me and Tabitha Jones on their show.
And
Many.
that was the first time we ever met.
We ever met was basically on air, and that's when you did the Toby Jonestown
Yep.
massage.
So yeah,
Jonestown
that show's a little bit
Massacre.
more explicit than ours, but it is fun. So yeah, thank you for mentioning it.
Way back in the day, The Unbelievables.
I miss it bad.
Well, we're basically rehashing it right now. Let's bring one of the hosts of The Unbelievables back. Speaking of carrier pigeons, Johnny is fighting the war over that island.
Oh, on Prince Edward Island,
Thank you so much. He sent us
fighting for their independence.
exactly. Thank God. So many souls.
Thank
on
Johnny.
that- and thank Johnny.
The only person there defending, he's doing it by himself.
It's just him and two giant swords.
Yeah.
And he's
Oh,
just
yeah.
spinning them nonstop. just
So he's
waiting.
he's sort of General Grievousing it over there. He sent us a note in carrier pigeon.
Please read it. I would love to hear what sentiments he has from the front.
It's been cold these past months. I've been eating nothing but shoe leather and watching The Last Jedi. It's okay. Kind of rough to get through. I've barely made it through the whole thing in one sitting. I mean, leather is so chewy. Oh yeah, The Last Jedi. It is good. Kind of convenient that a master code breaker was in that holding cell. I would read you my 66-page thesis I wrote, but my closest friend in this war bled all over every page. Chronic nosebleeds. Like I said, it's cold. Anyway, Broom Boy is my favorite character in Star Wars, and I don't know why Poe prank calls people. I'm rambling. Too distracted amputating my captain's toes. I'll see you next week. I hope.
Oh, it sounds like he's going through such turmoil.
It is.
Yeah.
He's going through a lot of shoes.
He'll be fine.
He's probably eating his captain's shoes since
He
he's
doesn't-
not wearing them anymore.
That's a good point.
His toes are being cut off.
It seems like one of the biggest issues is it's just cold. He didn't mention anything about any fighting.
And it is the summertime, so I mean he's only in Canada.
It's probably around 50 degrees.
It's also summer in the northern hemisphere. Like
What?
I would have thought he was in the southern hemisphere where it's winter now.
Yeah, like Australia.
It would be winter in Australia right now.
Yeah.
Why
wonder
don't we
if-
see pictures of that?
It's just I feel like because winter in Australia is just like, oh no, it's 60 degrees. And, like,
Is that
seems
is
to
that
be about
everywhere
it.
though?
But
I'm not sure.
what about southern Australia, where they like take off to go to Antarctica? Like
Oh,
that's
I'm
where
sure
they
once
drop
you get,
off.
like down real deep,
Yeah.
but then it's just like people up in Sydney, like, uh-oh, I gotta wear pants today.
That was a
my
great Australian accent.
Crikey, I've gotta wear long shorts today.
Do you think the kangaroos get dressed up?
Yeah.
For the wintertime?
Yeah, they put on more fur.
Other kangaroo fur?
Other kangaroo
They have
fur.
windbreakers in those
And
pouches.
then they shove their kid into one half of the pouch, and they put their hands in the other half to keep them warm.
The question too is we could ask Greg and not Greg at some point.
We could have,
what
yeah.
they experience in the Australian
if they're
time.
not off in a pit somewhere.
Right. I think I think not Greg might be fighting in the same war as Johnny is.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. All right. So, The Last Jedi. Man, this has been an interesting roller coaster. So I said earlier, talking about Tabitha Jones in The Last Jedi with us, Tabitha, you came with Johnny, me, our wives, and Calhoun to see The Last Jedi for the first time in the theaters. It was like opening day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It was like 7 on the first day.
Yeah, it wasn't too late actually, because
No.
we had enough time to get out of it, even though it was a long movie,
Yeah.
and sit down and talk.
Yeah.
So, do you remember that at all, or is that just a haze?
I forgot everything about that. No, yeah, I remember being very excited, and I remember getting out of there and still being very excited.
Right.
And yeah, it was probably, and then I think about a week later, I went and saw it again with my dad, and like it was still that like same, almost like first viewing excitement
Oh, yeah?
again. I've had a chance of rewatching this multiple times with people that haven't seen it before, and each time it's just like that brand new, that first
Yeah?
viewing again, like seeing it in the theaters again. Like I'm just as excited, I'm liking it just as much, and then I spent time watching it by myself this week, and was just
Sounds
like,
it took a dark turn here.
and was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, not by any means, not like, this is awful. But, you know, there was definitely, once that, like, first viewing magic was gone,
Right.
it was definitely like, okay, well, now wait a second. Like, I might be not struggling to get through, but, like, getting through this isn't as fun when I don't have someone that's like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
Interesting. So do you think that that is the biggest change from watching it then and watching it now, is the spectacle of the surprises is so diminished? You think that's the
Probably.
biggest takeaway from
Yeah.
the second viewing?
Because there's definitely things that, like, I remember seeing the first time that I was like, like, I'm not really 100% on board with that. But, like, oh, well, something else just happened. And
Yes.
it's
Right.
blowing me away
Yes.
now.
Right.
But now it's like I have time to dwell on it.
Yeah.
I have time to really think about it and think about
Yeah.
the fact that, oh, this could have been done so much differently. And they could have just shot this differently, maybe, or, like, executed this a bit of a different way. So, like, yeah, once there isn't that, like, I'm a little skeptical. Oh, wait, what's going on? Like,
Right.
okay, let me get back into this. Once you have that time to really formulate an actual, like, okay, why do I not like this?
Exactly.
It's like,
We've had the same. I like that this is a testament to someone who's a Star Wars fan and also a movie fan, and that's all three of us. I've seen a lot of movies with the two of you, and this I like that this is something that we can actually have a perspective on with regards to Star Wars. Just like I just went with it because I wanted to see more movie, and I was not necessarily, those things happen all the time where I wasn't necessarily on board with this moment, but there was more to come, and I wanted to see that.
Yes.
And we hear that a lot, and I think that's going to be a big theme as to what we talk about today.
For me, the first time I saw it, I loved it because I loved parts of it. The second time I watched it, I really analyzed it because with running so many pages and doing all, I see everybody's opinion. So watching it again, I had all those opinions rolling around in my head. I believe when you first see this film is when it is what it's made for. It's made for that first viewing. So when, some people see it and whatever it is that they don't like about the film towards the beginning or wherever just throws them off of the whole film, they're not along for the roller coaster ride. They're just looking at it and going like, I guess that looks good, but it looks kind of lame. I'm happy I didn't wait in line, like that type of thing. But as you guys know, I was so excited about some parts of the film. I literally jumped out of my seat at one point. Seeing all that stuff again, you don't go on that same ride. What do you think, Calhoun?
I think my initial viewing, I was legitimately thinking of like how I rank the movies, and it was gonna topple one of my top three. I felt that way. I felt like it was going to take its place. I think I saw it twice in theaters. Loved it both times. Because the second time I saw it with Gian, my friend of the show. I saw it with Gian, and I got to experience what Tabitha was describing of like something happening on screen and him just like jaw dropped, eyes wide, looking at me.
Yeah.
And I just get to grin and be like, dude, you just wait.
oh, yeah. The amount of times I got to be like, oh, keep watching.
Yeah.
keep watching. Like,
And those moments still are great because it reminds us of how we felt in the theater, and I still feel that way. But there are some things that even on the first viewing, I was like, oh, really?
yeah.
But it hasn't necessarily diminished the movie in my mind. But there are some things that I'd like to bring up from an objective point of view now.
And Calhoun watched the movie with commentary, so he will have a little more robust bosoms. No, I can't. I don't know. He has more robust notes when it comes to what we're going to be talking about. But I'll start us out. Do you want to say something?
I just wanted to say one thing in that I was looking forward to getting answers for like the things I was quote unquote disappointed by, but I was also interested in hearing notes about things that I never heard of before. And I got more of the second than the first. I didn't get like excuses made for things because obviously it's just Ryan Johnson talking with himself about his own movie. So parts that I was like, hey, I didn't like this much. What's he going to say to excuse them? He really doesn't.
Right.
So you won't really get that satisfaction if you do it yourself, if you watch the commentary yourself. But you learn a lot of cool stuff.
Right. It's one of those things, too, though, just because you think, and this goes to the listener, too, just because you think something is wrong doesn't think that the person who created it thought it was wrong as well.
Of course.
So I want to start off with just kind of an overview for myself with the movie. The first time I watched it, I was pretty much caught hook, line, and sinker. I know at this table there's some not liking of Luke throwing the lightsaber over the cliff, but everything that happens between Luke and Rey and Kylo, every time they came back to that, I was clamoring. I was like, I want to see what happens. Every time they go to the flashback of that night where Luke stands over him with the lightsaber, what happened? What happened next? I was so itching for it, and I realized that itch and that need, that's what overshadowed the whole Rose and Finn and all these, like a lot of problems that other people had. I didn't really see them because I was like, okay, but what is Rey going to find her parents? What's going to happen there? So all of that was super cool. There's a lot of good small things that happen throughout the film that like foreshadow and do all those types of things. But one of the biggest things that I loved the most was Snoke dying. That was one of those that was the moment I jumped out of my chair, but that's one of those moments that on the second time viewing it, yeah, it's cool, but you don't get that same jolt of like, what just happened? Did they actually just do that?
Yeah.
And that's why the first time seeing it, for me at least, is probably going to be the best time to see it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of my overview of it when it comes to like the whole movie was just this thing of there's a lot of huge moments. There's a lot of, like I said, coming back to them on Act 2 and being like, what's going to happen next there? And with Kylo, what's going to happen next with him? All that. That there was a lot of big stuff that overshadowed the small things. And then upon viewing it again, the small and analyzing the small things, like Tabitha said, it's like, yeah. I mean, I get that. But I'll end my little thing with this. I don't think it's so... The bad things are so egregious that it ruins Star Wars, like some people have said.
That was good. I wanted to
Most
ask you one
definitely.
question before we moved on.
Yeah.
With you not experiencing the surprises anymore, does that mean when you were watching the parts that you weren't necessarily paying that much attention to the first couple times, like the Finn Rose part, did it make it Did it make you watch it more closely and be more critical of those parts?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know, and we'll get into those parts later. But
Exactly.
yeah, so since you were able to have a more focused eye, did it feel like it was distracting? Maybe, not necessarily. Maybe not.
Yes, but
distracting.
also on watching it, I also realized that a lot of their stuff wasn't as long as I thought it would be. There was a lot of stuff dedicated to them, but the bulk of the film was dedicated to a lot of other stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So what do you want to say, Calhoun, in terms of when you watched it the first time compared to seeing it again? Did you see issues or did things that you saw issue with the first time, did those get better?
I don't think anything I took issue with the first time got better.
Okay.
Because the things I took issue with were they weren't necessarily knee-jerk reactions. They were preferences
Yeah.
of movies of what I want movies to be already. Like, I love drama. I've already said that a lot. So when you're in a dramatic moment between characters and then there's like a relief of that drama, I actually hate that because I feel like the wind is taken out of my sails. So with the opening, like I've aired my grievances about the prank call opening.
Same with Johnny.
So was Johnny.
He's
and I was
sawing people's feet off, but he's still airing those grievances.
so it's obviously on his mind. That was one of the moments that I was hoping Ryan Johnson would expand on, like why his choice was. I was like, well, he's obviously going to talk about his choice of opening the film, but he didn't really talk about it much because there were other interesting things to say. And you know what? I'm okay with it, but it doesn't set the right tone for the film, and that's one specific grievance. So, no, not a lot changed as far as my problems with it, but there were other pieces of it that I've come to appreciate more and not necessarily less. I don't think I've...
And Tabitha, what about you? Was there anything that like you didn't like when you first went in that it got better, or stuff that got worse as you saw it again?
I think
You-
personally,
and sorry, you can be specific. You can say
Okay.
this specific scene because
Yeah.
I think we can get down to that. at
Might
this
as well.
point.
for me personally, the things that I had a slight problem with in the very first few viewings, once I was able to analyze it, I think just because I knew it was coming and I had the chance to focus on it, I think I just got extra critical and extra, maybe not just like, ugh, about it, but just like, okay, like, I'm not a fan of Ola floating Leia. I'm not a fan
Oh,
of
okay.
it. I think it could have been, I like what they're trying to put across in that scene, 100%.
Right.
But I think that it could have been shown much differently, and I think it could have been executed much differently.
Now I want to toss it over to Calhoun because Calhoun, you liked the Leia scene.
I did.
What did you like about it?
I liked it, strangely enough, for the same reasons that it was put in the film, according to the creators. The way it was executed is a different case, but the reason it was put in was what I wanted to see. And we know Leia has Force powers.
Yes.
We know that she's sensitive to the Force, and we know that we know about her, what kind of character she is. She is the leader. She is essentially the leader of the face of the Resistance and the Republic in these movies. So I was like, we have to show her power. Or I want to see her power, and we can't dispatch her. We can't get rid of her in a way like this.
Yeah.
So the way that Ryan Johnson explained it, he says that her survival was akin to a parent realizing their kid is trapped beneath a vehicle and they get Hulk strength. She knows that she's still needed by these people to lead them, and the Force assists her power of will to survive.
See,
So it's like we know she's powerful. She doesn't really let it flow all the time, but in this time of crisis, she's like, well, it's like an adrenaline rush.
Right.
It's just like I am now. Now, can I ask you, Tabitha, what it was about it that you didn't enjoy?
It seemed far too stiff and not nearly organic enough.
I got it.
If this is something that like because I totally agree with, I want to see how strong Leia is. I want to see how in touch with the Force she is. We know that she is. Like, I want to be able to see that. But it just felt so stiff and so just like whoop. Like,
Right.
that's what, I feel like you could have added a sound effect in there, just like whoop.
Right.
She's there. Of just like I felt like it could have been so much more of an organic, almost like it was almost like they wanted to like, okay, we need to show that like it's her doing this.
yeah.
So like we need a direct path. But I feel like it should have been more of, instead of a Force float, maybe more of like a Force humble. You know?
Oh, no,
Her
you're totally
entire
right.
body is so stiff.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like the entire time that like I feel like there should have been just a little bit more movement.
I agree with that. I would like to offer what I think the excuse is, and it's that Carrie's very old, and they had her on a rig in front of a green screen.
Well, there's also the fact
No,
that
that's not necessarily much of an excuse.
See, the only reason I'm laughing so hard is because I'm imagining her answering that and being like, "Well, I'm an old lady.
right.
What do you want me to do?"
Yeah. And we would clap. You know, we would be like, yes, queen.
That's the thing too with like the whole floating aspect of it is she doesn't float. Everything in space technically is floating. So a lot,
is true.
but no, a lot of people say that like, oh, the Mary Poppins thing. Well, that's like saying that somebody walked from here to the door because there's gravity. There's no gravity in space. So
Yeah.
she didn't. Of course she floated because she was in space. All I ever saw it as is she just used like force pull. She like basically grabbed onto the handle with a force and then just
Pulled
went
herself
that
forward.
way.
Yeah.
Um,
And it doesn't take that much force because
No.
there's nothing in between.
I will say when exactly. I will say when it happened though, when I first saw it, I cried, and then when she came back to life, I was gathering myself
Yes.
back from there. So I didn't really have an opinion.
I was shaking a bit. I was a little worried.
Right.
Just like thinking that was the end. And,
Right.
Right, yeah,
but
because
yeah.
you that's what I thought too. Because
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, okay,
already,
like
huh?
all right, like this is it then. And then it fled. They go to that shot of her, and I'm like, okay, like this is overkill, guys. Like, come on,
Right.
like, and then
Oh yeah, when she was floating in space like
We
dead,
thought they
and
were
we're
just
like,
showing her body.
And I was just
Damn.
like, come on, like my heart hurts already.
right.
I don't need a shot of her floating dead through all of this debris. Thank
I will
you.
say though, the revealing shot of like the sun coming around her hair to show like her illuminated face. That was a beautiful
That was
shot.
beautiful.
I mean, it was all digital too.
That
It
was
was gorgeous.
one of my favorite things. Are all of those throughout the entire movie? Are all of those very tight shots
oh yeah,
on faces where
Mm-hmm.
you just get superb, subtle acting.
Right.
Ooh,
Of,
that's
like-
mentioned a lot.
yeah,
in
and
commentary.
and
man.
with Adam Driver.
Yes.
Bet you are.
There was a lot of discussion. We'll talk about this because this is a big part of this movie, the Force connection.
Yep.
There was a lot of like, not a lot. When it came up, Ryan explained what his process was and like how he wanted it to it. And do we want to talk about it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said when they reached that point,
Well, this is the Force connection between Kylo and Rey. Yep.
Kylo and Rey, and the way that they planned it.
Mm-hmm.
He said from the very beginning, he didn't want anything distracting you from what this was.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't want people to focus on like an effect or a way that it was accomplished. He's like, well, then the obvious way to do it is to just use film language. And
Yeah.
just if you have one person facing this direction,
Yep.
reacting to one person facing this other direction, it doesn't even matter where they are. You can make
Exactly.
it seem like they're talking to each other. It's like it's the oldest trick in the book.
And little subtle things where, like with Kylo saying, "I can't see where you are. Can you see where I am?"
Yeah.
And then the little stuff of her like leaving and Kylo running out of his room like he can chase her.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was perfect, and it set up the context very easily as well. And then something I didn't notice in the initial watching, which I can't believe I didn't notice, all the other sound drops out, except for their
Yes.
voices. That was suggested by the sound editor. And what a thing for the sound editor
Right.
to... That would be exactly the thing.
Yeah.
And Ryan's just like, why didn't I think of that?
And if I remember, there's a little.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just
you
a
get that, it all
little-
gets pulled. It's not
a
enough
vacuum.
to distract you. It's not enough for you to be like aware of it.
Right.
But you get that quick little. It's almost jarring. You're like, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Like especially, it does a great job of bringing across how they must have felt in just having this connection and like almost having to gather all of your stuff and be like, okay, where am I? What am I feeling? What am I
Yeah.
hearing? What am I? Oh, I'm talking to you.
Right.
Okay, like
And
it
it's someone that both of them are just like, is super astonished.
Yeah. It's just, it does a
They're-
very good job of leaving you as, like, bewildered as you can tell they are.
Right. And that's one of the things that, like, the big stuff that I focused on while not focusing on other things of, like, I want to know what happens with this force connection. But moving back a second, let's talk about Rose and Finn.
Let's do it.
I say we just kind of go through their thing.
Yeah, I'm down.
And just kind of roll through it. For me, so Rose, Kelly Marie Tran is a great actress. Her character was weird. I'll put it like that. What do you guys think?
What were your thoughts when we first met her?
I liked her.
Okay.
Yeah,
I did too.
definitely. Yeah, when we first meet her, it's definitely that extra, like, you've just watched that very highly emotional scene with her sister, and then you
Yeah.
make that connection of
Yeah.
just, oh man, like that, it hits you hard, definitely. And yeah, there's nothing in that initial meeting her that gives any indication of just like,
Ugh, I don't like this.
yeah, or like where this is going, I'm not going to enjoy it.
Right,
or like
right,
not
right.
even I don't think I even like didn't enjoy Rose and Finn, where it just seemed not unnecessary, but I'm just like, thumbs up, guys.
It just felt like-
you're doing do what you need to do.
Yeah.
I'm not this involved in it.
It
You
just-
guys don't need me sitting here going, oh, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen with you guys next?
Yeah.
Like that's not what needs to be going on with that at all.
It felt like there was bigger things going on. That was my
Yeah.
whole thing. But also the way it was shot, all of their stuff. Like once they got to Canto Bight, the casino planet and everything, that's when it kind of starts to run on a little bit too much. I feel that's when people might have got disenfranchised with the idea. But what it was for me was watching it again, realizing there's none of these scenes could have got cut unless they cut the entire thing.
yeah.
They kept the necessary bits.
Right.
There were lots of extra bits with Rose and Finn, specifically with DJ. Not a lot of theirs that were cut, but Rose, Finn, and DJ sequences, a lot of them got trimmed.
Especially when they were
Inside, when they were
the ship.
infiltrating the ship,
Yeah.
everything was ramped up so quickly they couldn't really hold on that for very long.
But that's what I think when it comes to their whole thing is
Did your mind? Did either of your minds get changed on Rose from the first viewing to the multiple viewings afterwards?
me sort
or
of.
was it just kind of the same?
There
No.
was sort of a thing of like, she just doesn't make sense to me.
I see. To the story, or to what do you mean by doesn't make sense?
Well, we've talked about before that I think Finn dying the way he would have died would
Yeah.
have been great. But just, I don't know, she seemed very like lion-hearted and like going forward all the time. I didn't really feel a connection with her. That was just me. I didn't really feel.
I gotcha.
Feel her at a
I-
visceral level.
No, I can reflect that. I always felt that her and Finn's parts were like the more preachy parts. Like the other parts of the film, we were getting subtle themes. Like we felt emotionally the movie while we watched it more than just listening and being told things. But in the Finn and Rose parts, we were being fed this new perspective that's never been in Star Wars before, which is the war machine. The war machine is a thing, and
Right.
we don't hear about that ever. That's a very complex theme, and actually, it's kind of modern. It's kind of a modern commentary.
Yeah.
So I felt like those parts were so preachy that kind of might have affected people's opinions on it. Did you get that vibe at all?
It wasn't so much that aspect for me, whereas I feel almost like my dislike or just disinterest in a lot of the things to do with Rose and Finn are all like just personal preference. Because like I personally cannot, it's always bothered me when there's like, it happens so often in movies. And like I understand there needs to be some, you're like, we're in space with made up planets and stuff. There needs to be some form of suspension of disbelief. But I cannot get behind movies where it's like these two characters meet and then they go on an adventure where they bond a whole lot when they maybe spend 48 hours together. And then it's like, I love you and I care so much about you. And I'm just like, it's been 2 days. I remember being like 10 and like yelling at Titanic on VH1, and like Rose is like jumping off the lifeboat. Like, I'm like, you just met this guy. Like, the boat is going down. Like, there is nothing holding you to him at all. And yeah, it's always been very much so like, it felt forced. It felt just like, it would have been totally fine if, for me, like, they meet, they go on this big adventure, and they're better friends for it.
Yeah.
But I don't buy. We've known each other for 2 whole days, and we've been through so many things together that I have to love you now.
Right.
Like, it just seems.
So you think that that they'll explore an actual love interest between the two of them in the next film? Do you think that's what they were like trying to get us to?
I hope not. I mean, personally, I don't, but that's what it feels like. I mean, with that whole
kiss, it felt that way.
It felt so heavy-handed. You save the things you love,
right.
and
I
then,
have notes about that, like what RJ said about them.
What did he say?
Should I just say it now?
Just
Okay.
tell me. My temples hurt.
Finn is the main focus on his story, and Rose is meant to be the angel on his shoulder, and DJ is supposed to be the devil character on his shoulder. She originally was supposed to be a little more grumpy, but then he decided with the reading by Kelly Marie Tran, she's just this glowing, positive force, and he's like, that's who Rose needs to be. That's where I needed her to be. And so she changed a lot. But then, so at the end, when she stops Finn from basically following in her path, which is the resistance is what matters. This is what matters. Our mission, our focus, we have to save this. We have to do everything we can. Her arc also is completed in RJ's mind by her saving a personal relationship over the big picture. She was trying to teach Finn that going to find Rey is less important than the resistance. You don't need to do that right now.
Right.
We have bigger fish to fry. And then at the end, he's like, I've accepted it. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to give my life. And she's like, no, I've changed my mind.
Right.
That's not how we win, by killing ourselves, by protecting the ones we love. And it was supposed to be like a role reversal, like everyone's so...
Sacrificing ourselves, not just straight up killing ourselves.
Oh, it's the same. But that was the excuse. Now, does that change your guys' perspective at all? I actually think I kind of like Rose's character. I don't like the romance idea between the two of them, but I think I actually kind of like her.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I don't dislike Rose's character.
Yeah, me
I just,
either.
The use of her, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like there was such a way that she could have been used, and to delegate it to just like, and then she's gonna kiss Finn, and it's just like, okay, like, I'm tired of all sorts of movies where it's like, we're gonna introduce a new girl character because our one guy character that didn't get with the main girl character is lonely. And like, that's what it always feels like.
No,
so,
that's
like,
that's a great criticism.
yeah, it's like she could have just been another character, a new character that, yes, we need her help. She needs to come along. She's going to help these things happen. So like, to at the end, just like, okay, like, and she kissed him.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Personally, for me, it just like kind of throws everything else off.
Maybe it's just because they need to put a kiss in every Star Wars film too. Like every Star Wars movie has to have a lightsaber ignited.
Then you know what? Just give me a clip of Oscar Isaac just scooping up a crystal critter and just giving it a big ol' smooch. Then
Yeah, or Holdo.
that's what I need.
Oh, she's gone.
So
She's gone now.
we're already running pretty long.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's keep going.
But let's roll through. How about we just kind of go over some of the other things like Holdo? What do you guys think about Holdo?
I think that one of my favorite things in the world is that all of the complaints that I've heard about Holdo online have just been like, she looked funny. And I'm just like, it's space. It is space. A woman can't have purple hair.
I can confirm that she is human.
Oh.
And she just has purple hair.
Exactly.
She simply has purple hair.
Like someone was like, looks like Holdo got lost on her way to the Hunger Games. And I'm like, you were on a spaceship with hundreds of beings that look nothing like anything you've ever seen. And you see a woman with purple hair and you're just like, no, thank you. That's not the way it is.
I personally did not like the purple hair.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't think it looked good. I don't think she needed it. But for everyone to just be like,
That's their only criticism?
yuck, I didn't like her because she looked funny. I'm like, there's all sorts of reasons to not like Holdo. Like, they give you reasons, like,
Right.
to be like, oh, like, maybe I don't like this. So for every single thing I see, it's just been like, her hair was shaped weird in a shade I don't like. I'm like, I don't like it either.
I also think like that Holdo wasn't written to be liked. I don't think she was supposed to be liked until she kills herself, like you keep saying, Kevin.
Yeah.
Until she kills herself.
There was someone that was just like, oh, like, I like stumbled upon just like a thread of people arguing about something. And at one point, someone was just like, oh, so we're just supposed to assume that she was trying to do this instead of being, how do they put it? They're like, militarily inept. And I'm just like, sometimes those things happen. Like, sometimes
Vietnam happens.
Sometimes Vietnam happens.
And everyone's militarily inept.
Yeah, I'm like, literally just look at history. Sometimes people that are like, they're putting things together and leading things are not doing the right thing. And
Right.
sometimes we lose because of that.
Right. It's really hard to see the big picture when you're literally in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, RJ wanted Holdo to be even less militarily adept.
Oh,
He
jeez.
wanted her to be a hippy-dippy character.
Yeah.
But when they were doing line readings with Oscar, it wasn't working. She needed to be more firm. So she's
Yeah.
more firm.
Speaking of Oscar, speaking of Poe, I happen to really like everything about Poe in this movie.
Okay.
I even liked him prank calling at the beginning.
Me too.
Because he was doing it in The Force Awakens.
Yep.
And you see the difference in his story arc. That's like the big thing. He's jokey. He's running headlong, alone, all that stuff.
He's the wise guy.
Right. And
Yeah,
then
he
he
is a wise
becomes
guy.
actually wise at the end.
He becomes from a wise guy to a wise man.
Because here's the thing, like I'll put it to you, Calhoun. When it comes to like the beginning, him being goofy and running headlong and all that type of stuff, it makes sense to me for his character because that doesn't make sense to anyone else. Think about Leia smacking him because everything you just did, Poe, was stupid, and then people say what Poe was doing at the beginning was stupid. I'm like, well, yeah, everyone said it
was a dumb
It was
idea,
a
yeah.
dumb idea.
I see.
That was the point of it. And we'll get to Luke in a second here, but like Luke was so weak. Yep. That was the point of
Yeah.
him. He was weak. That's why he came strong at the end.
Yeah, that was like when I read about someone being like, after the whole like prank call thing, they're like, it immediately made me not take Hux seriously and wonder like why he's even like a character that's gonna like has any sort of longevity, like, and I'm just like, that's the point though.
Right.
Like the point of having, at least that's what like I'm taking away from it, is like you have like this, like you have Kylo and how intense he is and how just like not set in his ways, but like he wants to please so badly, and he's supposed to be like this sort of imposing just existence. And then you have Snoke that's above him, and
Right.
he's supposed to be even more imposing. And it's like I feel like, to me personally, it's supposed to be obvious that it's like Snoke up top, Kylo, and then Hux, of just like,
And
he's just not like that when Poe's actually succeeding and there's that shot of his face of
Right.
just like, you can tell that it's just like, not again.
Right.
Like,
Hux
again.
Hux
I'm
is kind of
always-
like the ultimate yes man.
Yes,
And I think that's why
exactly.
he's so high up in the totem pole, because he will do anything anyone says because it's an order.
Yep, and when things fail and he thinks that he has a handle on things, he's like, yeah, no, I've got this, and then it's yet again of him
Right.
just being like, I'm wrong, and I'm gonna get yelled at.
You guys
like
hit
he
the-
knows.
You guys hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what RJ said Hux's role is. He
Yeah.
says Kylo and Snoke are these huge, intense forces of seriousness. He's like, I can't have 3 of them.
Right.
And I was like, that's actually very smart.
Yeah.
I've had my mind changed by your guys' attitudes.
Yeah.
Basically, that it has to be done, and it's not even that bad. It's actually entertaining.
Even
Yeah.
his speech in The Force Awakens really feels like he is just regurgitating everything he's
Exactly.
heard.
What
Others
yeah.
have said, and
You-
he's doing his best.
I love it because he's spitting and
Right.
he's shaking,
Yeah.
and
Right.
but there's almost nothing behind his eyes
Yeah.
of just like, this is what I'm being told, and this is what I believe, and this
Right.
is what I need you to believe.
Exactly. And then moving along, I believe the next group of people we can talk about is Kylo, Rey, and Luke.
Our favorite. I wanted to say that it's also my favorite part of the film.
Incredible.
I can't wait to get to those parts when I watch it.
Yeah, fantastic.
What do you think of? So you didn't like. Let's start with Luke throwing the lightsaber. What did you think about that, Calhoun?
Little much. But it's exactly what he would do. The way he's written, he's just like, I'm over this. I'm over this.
Also felt to me almost like symbolic of like, we literally pick up exactly where we left off with The Force Awakens. And it's almost like Rey showing up with everything that J.J. Abrams has set up and handing it off to Luke. And Luke looking at it almost as Rian Johnson and being like, no, this is what we're doing. This is what you're getting, and it's not what you thought it was.
Well, and there's also a thing too with people
It is a very good analogy.
talking about it. That is, there's a thing with Luke doing that, and people being like, "What? Luke wouldn't do that." But at the same time, look at where he is.
Yeah.
He's on an island
Yeah.
alone, and he's been there for years.
Yeah,
So where are the people when they were looking for Luke, you know, in The Force Awakens, going, what? Luke wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
No, people built up in their heads that, oh, he's going to come back and do something big. But wait, he left though.
Yeah. We're naive to think that we are picking up with the same Luke Skywalker
Exactly.
that we left off with.
Exactly.
Like, it's not, all of this time is supposed to have passed, and all of these things have happened for a reason. So to think that we're just going to get right back to where we left Luke Skywalker at the end of Jedi, like, no, that's
No.
not what's going to happen.
That would be boring.
That would be the most
Way boring.
It's
So
the exact
boring.
same thing as, like, I just want the same story of Luke and Leia and Han and Chewbacca, and they're gonna go do this,
And they're gonna always
fight,
succeed, and
they're
they'll
always
never
gonna-
have problems.
Yeah, and that's not what. Literally, these are movies about a war.
Right.
Like, no one is going to just be like, we're gonna fix this, and then
Right.
they fix it, and it's over, and it's fine.
And it's felt like Luke has said we're going to fix this a lot in his life, and it's like, all right, I'm done
Yep.
fixing it.
I'm done being optimistic that I can do anything that's going to help any of this.
Right.
I tried.
I think we should be happy and thrilled that we got this. What would happen if Luke tried to reestablish the Jedi, discovered that it was a horrible idea, or
Right.
he thinks it's a horrible idea, he thinks they're better off without the Jedi. He's going to stop it in its tracks because he saw the outcome, and he decides to stop it. He thinks, and this was what Rian Johnson's explanation was, and I think it was crystal clear, that Luke thinks the absence of the Jedi is a greater good than having them be around.
Right.
He thinks that it would be a mistake and all this stuff. And what does he do? He does the noble thing of leaving,
Yep.
removing himself from the problem.
right.
And then we get this great line. He's like, "What did you think I was going to take on the Empire or take on the First Order all by myself?
Yeah. Right.
Me walk out alone with a lightsaber."
Literally.
First of all, that's great to be like, "Oh, of course we don't expect that of you, Luke." But that is kind of what people wanted. People were
Yeah.
like, "He's a superhero."
He's gonna come back and he's gonna fix everything.
And guess
Yeah.
what? He does. That's the thing.
And then he does do it.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like, I don't even know what episode it was where I went off for a second about the fact that people say that they ruined Luke. But it's like, the thing is, like I said, take any actor, comedian, musician, whatever that you love, watch their documentary, see the stupid stuff they've done or the way their lives have gone down the toilet or whatever, and then they get back up. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Just because somebody did, had a drug problem or whatever, and they came back, in their older years and they're better and what, you don't go, when they do that, oh, they ruined so-and-so.
That's not who they are.
Right. That's not who they are. And it's like, yeah, you could say that's not who Luke is. And that I think that's true. Luke isn't the person that runs away. And we see that he becomes that again at the end of the movie. So to say they ruined him when he does exactly what you wanted him to do at the end of the movie, it's called a story arc, because he goes from literally running completely in the opposite direction to turning a full 180 and running headlong into the First Order. And some people too, like, well, he didn't actually do it. He dies. What do you want? What more do you want? Did you actually want him to go there and die in flesh?
The grandeur of that scene, we couldn't have asked for better.
Yeah.
We can't-
really couldn't have.
How could anyone have imagined a more Luke taking on the First Order alone?
Right.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Getting blown
On
up
paper, on paper is amazing.
Blown up time
Executed-
and time again.
and then brushing
Nonstop.
dirt off of his fake shoulder.
yeah.
So that's the thing with Luke. With Luke at the beginning, I really like, because it just made me want to know, why are you like this? Why are you so
Yes,
Yep.
we wanted more. Tell us more.
Yep.
Tell
grumpy?
us
Why
more.
are you drinking milk?
And that's also what Rey was feeling. Let's talk about Rey. Let's talk about since we're talking about the trio, we focused on Luke so far.
Right.
Let's talk about the acting. Let's talk about all three of their acting.
Ooh, so good.
I know you love Daisy Ridley's acting.
but Daisy Ridley's and Adam
I want
Driver
to
is
put my
amazing.
hands on either side of his face and just shake him and just go, thank you.
Yeah, the dude is a master class on being unstable.
Brief caveat: RJ was a huge Adam Driver fan before he even got the job. And so when he was told, "Yeah, you got the job now," he's like, "I was very much looking forward to working with Adam Driver."
Oh man, I remember the excitement of in my early 20s as a casual fan of HBO's Girls, being like, he's gonna be in the new Star Wars. Like, I remember, like, I was obsessed with Adam Driver just as this arty dude on like an HBO show where he's just
Right.
shirtless a bunch, and then I was just like, oh my god, this is only gonna get better from here on out.
Since you have that perspective, tell me what it was about his role on Girls that you liked so much.
He was a very unstable love interest for the main character, where they went from like very casually seeing each other to him being very into her, and her like disappearing as soon as he shows real interest, and then as soon as he pulls back, she comes after him, and it's just like a lot of him just like in his apartment, like he went from like in the beginning being this like woodworker type character to were actually become like working more in theater and stuff. But like the first season is just a lot of him just like angrily building things and just like yelling at this woman for just like toying with his emotions. And
Obviously he can do complex.
yeah, exactly. So like then we got into Star Wars, and I was like, he's perfect at this.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things with going back to Daisy Ridley is her. I think people not connecting with her might have taken away from. I connected with her in the sense of reacting to Luke. that's what she was there for, was to react to Luke and be like, what? What do you're not, you're supposed to be this. And he's
Because
like,
she, as established in Force Awakens, she knows about Luke.
Right.
She idolizes him as a legend.
right. And that, yeah, he specifically says, like, what, do you want me to be the legend? I'm not right now. And no, I think Daisy's whole complex range of emotions, because she's very headstrong. You know what I mean? Daisy, I mean Rey. Rey is very headstrong as a character, where she's going through all this crazy stuff, seeing the pit, you know, of evil and all these things, and then just being like, no, I'm gonna be a Jedi. I'm gonna steal the Jedi sacred texts. I'm gonna, you know, all that stuff. I think Daisy played that very well.
That was one of the moments when rewatching with Dylan that I did not expect him to be so excited over at the very end, when like the drawer opens
With all the texts.
and he literally just goes, "She took the texts!"
Right.
Like threw his hands up and like
That's
yelled
great.
at the ceiling, and I was like, "Oh, you caught that, huh?"
Good. I'm glad he caught that.
I'm glad you caught that.
Did he
because,
did he also remember Yoda saying that Rey already has all
he
that
literally
knowledge?
he goes, so that's what he meant when he said it isn't anything she doesn't already possess. Like, he got so immediately
That's
into
great.
it.
Right.
Between that and being disappointed that there's one part where Rose goes, I know what that is. And it shows a racetrack. And he goes, if she does not go, now that's pod racing. I'm burning the house down.
That's awesome.
Rude.
I was expecting it to be pod racing at first.
Same.
I'm glad it wasn't. I'm
Me
glad they
too,
did something
but-
a little different.
I just needed that. I just needed that fun reference.
The notes that RJ gave on Rey in general was that Rey's journey in these films is that of growing up. So he was comparing it to how the original films was the typical hero's journey.
Yep.
And he said he was framing Rey's as that of being a child at one point and just the experience of realizing the world is so much bigger.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's just something that I think we all can relate to. And I was like, that's so beautiful and true.
Right, right.
It is a great frame of reference for her character, a way to frame it. Back to Canto Bight. Let's talk about. Well, actually, you know what? Let's not stray away from Kylo, Rey, and
Luke.
Luke,
Stick with
because I want to
that.
talk about Yoda real quick.
Okay.
When
Go
Yoda
ahead.
showed up,
Yeah.
what were you guys feeling?
Oh, it was incredible.
I was elated.
yeah.
And then it gets to the point where he laughs and he's stomping his little feet and everything. And I'm like, oh, good.
Guess whose idea it was to reveal him that way?
Who?
Frank Oz.
Oh, yeah?
Because RJ just had like this regular, just like, you know, normal camera move. And Frank's like, no. Like, have the camera pull around and we'll just see the silhouette of Yoda's ears. And everyone's heart will start fluttering. And he's right. Everyone, I was like,
Yeah. I remember.
everyone's rubbing their hands
going
together.
immediately through all of us. It was
Yeah.
just like, ah,
That was sort of the thing. That was sort of the thing where, like, that was what made Luke become Luke from the movies again. Like, Master Yoda.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the sacred text.
Yeah,
The sacred
and-
texts.
They fell right into their roles.
Yeah, exactly. It was like it was very, very satisfying to have the start of this be this Luke where time has obviously passed and he has obviously changed, and then such a quick just reverting right back to how we remember him and exactly the role he's supposed to play with Yoda.
Yep.
Of going from the grumpy new Luke we know to just like, but what about, but no, and then that hesitation and Yoda just being like, no, dude, you don't get to do that.
Right.
Like, snapping my fingers.
Well, and-
like,
and
I'm
Still
making it
teaching
happen.
him those lessons is
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
Right. And that's where I think the turning point for Luke was, to revert back to how he was.
The hero.
And I think it kind of leads into Kylo right there. Kylo is interesting because we get that whole flashback. We get the flashback of
The Rashomon style.
right of what went on that night. Was Luke evil? Was Kylo evil? I think they both see it their own way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that-
the way it happened to the both of them.
Exactly, and that was the thing I feel like, we were never going to get any sort of unbiased view of that night. We're gonna get what my dad likes to say. There's always 3 sides to the story: your side, the other person's side, and the right side. You know, you get so much from each one, and then you put those two together, and there's still other things that you need to get from that, and we're never going to get that third side, ever.
Right.
I don't want us to.
Especially with flashbacks.
Yeah.
There's never been a flashback in a Star Wars movie until then.
Yep.
Right.
Crazy, huh?
And I think it was done so well in the sense of releasing little tidbits as it went on. And I think that's one of the things I clamored for so much. I wanted to see what the heck happened. But no, in terms of Kylo, in terms of Adam Driver, man, he went from being crazy to being someone. I mean, you see him snap when Snoke tells him to take off the helmet.
Yes.
He snaps, like we've seen him snap several times in this series, but it's in a way of, I think that's when he decided, all right, I need to do something now.
Yeah.
It's over. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I think people took that snap in the elevator as just a standard Kylo Ren thing, but there was a little different. He looked at the helmet. He was like, I am done with this.
Yeah. No more pretending.
No more pretending. I'm going to do what Vader never was able to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill my master.
Yep.
And that whole scene of him getting Rey in like the coffin.
That was
thing.
specifically made to look like a coffin.
Right. And his just stoic face the entire time.
Yeah.
They almost cut that part. You know when she lands and they see each other, like the mist goes away and he's there, and then he walks away. Apparently that was almost cut in every
How?
every cut leading up to like last few weeks of editing, and then they're like, nah, we need to see them see each other.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's important.
It's so important, especially after all of the conversations that they've had from literal planets and spaceships away.
It's
you
like
can't just go straight to the elevator scene.
Yeah, you have to. They need to actually. They're finally there. There's still that barrier between them right
Yes,
there, but they're
yes.
finally there, and it's like they still can't get to each
It
other.
has to be
Yeah.
that thing of when you are talking to somebody online so often, like on Facebook or something, and then you finally meet them in real life, and you're like, I don't know, this is awkward.
Yeah.
Kylo and Rey have just been Snapchatting each other.
Exactly.
that's totally right.
Exactly. But no, that's sort of what I saw it as, of him knowing exactly what he had to do, not to the point of actions, but thoughts too. I think he knew exactly. He had to think with all of his heart that he is going to kill Rey. He had to think all of that and be strong of mind enough to be thinking that, and also be using the Force to kill Snoke at the same time, because Snoke, he sees every thought.
Yeah, he was going to read his mind. And that's exactly what Ryan Johnson was saying. And he's like, he has to. This is the only moment he had.
Yep.
When he was, because Snoke is literally narrating his mind.
Yep.
And he's like, he saw it and he took it and he executed it.
Yep.
And then we get to the amazing throne room scene.
Oh,
but
it's gorgeous.
what were you going to say, Kevin?
Before we get to the amazing throne room scene, I want to ask Tabitha. I hate this topic, but it has to be brought up for our fans. Are you a Reylo shipper?
No.
Or a Rey no?
Rey no.
Reylo or Rey no?
Rey no. And that's the thing, is that I don't think that.
I can't believe I asked that question. I just sunk to the bottom.
Again, I don't think it needs to be done. It doesn't need to be done for any sort for what they are to each other to be important.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be any sort of romance.
I agree.
And that's the thing. I believe that that's ultimately what they're probably setting up. Yes.
Really?
I
You do think so?
I think so.
Wow.
I
That's
think
fascinating.
Yeah, I think I don't know what it is, and I don't know why, but there's just something deep inside of me that I'm just like,
Tabitha,
This has to be what they're going for, isn't
Tabitha,
it?
that's called love.
I feel love.
I don't know what this horrible, awful.
It's this horrible heartburn.
inside.
It's realizing that Kylo Ren and Rey love each other. Just scream.
I did see when we first saw it. I saw you covering your eyes when Finn and Rose kissed. You're like, ew, ucky.
Yucky.
Yeah.
She has cooties.
Yeah.
She has space cooties.
When it comes to Raylo, I don't have a vested interest in it. So I don't know. For this whole thing, I just see it as let's
wanna
just
see
see
all those-
what it
Keep
happens.
going. Oh, you want to see what
I
happens?
I just
like-
want to see what happens.
I want to
liked
see all those
your,
Twitter accounts get closed that are like dedicated to Raylo.
I liked your response, I think, when I was going through like the Instagram stories and someone asked, they're like, I'm just saying, you don't just touch hands by a fire for no reason.
Hey, man, gazing into each other's eyes,
Gazing,
touching hands.
hands next to a fire.
Right, and then your uncle walks in, and it's all awkward.
He took his glove off.
He
Yeah.
Touch
did.
that hand.
He's
He
like-
wanted to get that skin on skin.
Oh boy. So
It's a
with-
family show.
Exactly.
Family show.
So with that though, there's
Let's talk about the fight now. You want to talk about the fight.
the fight, and
Cool
also
fight.
them touching each other.
And touching
No,
skin on skin.
there's this thing. I don't know where the source is or what it is, but I believe it is canon that she gained a lot of Kylo's knowledge from that.
From their force connection.
Their force connection, when they finally touched, there was this in sync thing that happened between the two, like in the force between them. That's why the throne room was so like connected. They were so
Yeah.
connected as a team. But no, and that was the thing when it comes to the throne room scene. There's one continuity error
Yeah.
with the knife, the disappearing knife. Mm-hmm. Oh well.
Guess
There's
what?
a lot of what's up.
That move was proposed by the choreographer. He said he wanted Ray to do the whole dropping and then slicing with the other hand thing.
Yeah.
But in order for them to set that move up, they had to have her grabbed by that person.
Yep.
But the problem with that is like you said, that Praetorian guard had two blades
Yep.
and then suddenly has one,
Yeah.
which is upsetting. but it's
Oh, sorry.
keep going.
No, I was just gonna say I heard someone almost discredit and say they didn't like the entire scene just because of the one clip where the one guard gets like he like stumbles back into that thing, like he falls down.
Oh,
and
the
then-
blender.
and then all of the like bits and pieces of him.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
and like someone was like, "You're telling me that they're gonna make this whole big ship and they're just gonna leave one exposed fan over here or something?" And I'm just like, first of all, some sort of suspension of disbelief is needed
Right.
for any of this movie. And like, second of all, like, you really think that like they've got this stuff down to a science yet? Like, do you think probably post like giant fight, like someone's like inspecting the rubble of that ship and they're just like, oh man, they didn't cover that great like they're supposed to.
the engineers.
Oh, there's a man down there. There's okay.
Well,
we
and-
gotta let's
And there's also the thing too of like,
I love that.
You mean the Emperor's entire in Return of the Jedi with there's several pitfalls in his office.
Exactly.
If there's anything we've learned from Star Wars, is that there are some environments that are dangerous.
Yeah.
And if I were some huge master dark lord that had like a whole throne room, I'd be like, yes, please give me fans that will chop a man into a billion pieces.
What if he's thrown people in there before the
yeah.
fight?
That's easily something Snoke would do.
Exactly.
He would just force push someone into a blender.
Or hold
Yes.
them over it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's clearly something an evil person would do.
But the whole fight, getting to the positive parts.
Yes.
Man.
fantastic.
So Snoke gets cut in half, one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars. And
Great
then
performance by Andy Serkis.
great performance by everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Rey
Leading up to
is
that
like,
moment.
what the heck?
Yeah.
And then Kylo is still stoic. He's still like, yeah, of
Yeah,
course I did that.
it.
Duh.
I've completed my-
And then he pulls the lightsaber towards him, and Rey catches it.
Yep.
And then he turns on his lightsaber, and then the slow motion of the guards coming over.
Oh my god.
That 30 seconds from Snoke getting killed to the fight starting was like, what is happening? This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
And the choice to start it with that slow motion.
Yes.
And like it wasn't even a ton of it, but just of like those initial movements.
Yes.
And like them getting into position.
Yeah.
And then it's speeding up like at their first move.
Right.
We're just like, oh
and it's
my
so,
God.
the whole
It's
fight's
combat
so
porn.
gritty.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's so
Yeah.
many parts where you just go, oh,
and
ow.
when he had like the one had like the whip.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just kept pulling her, and like
Exactly.
it was so like clunky and
Right.
like
And
mechanical.
sparks.
Oh my, yeah, it was dirty and terrifying.
And with Kylo, one of my favorite bits is him cutting off one of the guards' heads.
Yes.
But he
Yes.
doesn't cut it off clean.
the neck,
It's
yeah.
like through where the eyes would be. You know, like he cuts
yeah.
the head in half, just like
Yeah.
plink.
Like
It feels
throwing
brutal.
up.
Everything feels gritty, brutal, unprecise.
Yeah.
He kills that one by like just digging the lightsaber more and more into him.
Yeah.
Presses it in.
And then he loses his saber, and then that's when he gets caught. And you can't. How can you not love the lightsaber throw, turn on, cut,
Yeah.
stab the guy in the eye? Man,
I love that move.
So clean.
Yeah.
Like for how dirty and everything else was.
Yeah,
like
that is like a-
single.
It feels, yeah. Two things that I learned from the commentary that were awesome. One of the very first visions that Ryan Johnson had was them back to back fighting these guards in this throne room. So that was like he basically like had that painted of a picture in his mind. And so he accomplished it, and I think that's why we got the slow-mo too, so we could hang on to that moment for
Yeah.
as long as we want. And the other thing was the actors all knew, and the stunt performers knew that fight so well. That's why we got so many sweeping long shots of the combat.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do a long lens and cut in between things. Everyone knew their part so well that he was just able to put the camera anywhere.
Yeah.
That's super awesome that they were
Yeah.
dedicated to getting it right. They were just there all the time.
and it was blocked so well. We've talked about lightly before. Every time the I can't think of the right word, perspective. Every time the perspective changed, they would do stuff like Kylo looking at Rey
Yeah.
from his fight, and then they would go to Rey's part.
Yeah.
And back and forth like that. And also, for The Force Awakens, there were so many people who hated Kylo, who said he was weak, who said he was blah, 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 blah. I don't hear those things anymore.
No, not at all.
Not anymore.
It was all about his tantrums
Right.
and the fact that he was so emo.
Right,
and
and
all
then
this
his
stuff.
brutality of he took on like
Yeah.
5 of them on his own. I think
Yeah.
Ray only fought 2 or so, but he was just like he took on like 3 at a time at one
Yeah,
point.
he did.
Yep.
And
What a beautiful shot too, where he does this like scoop move and then spins into exactly what you're talking about. Where he just shoves it through the chest, and you hear
Right.
the rattling of. It's a great
That's-
shot that I love.
That was one of the biggest parts for me. Is like I feel like I had almost forgotten like the sound of a lightsaber in someone doing
Right.
that, like of just like
and especially his,
Yeah.
which is like a
and
jet
it's just-
engine basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was jarring almost. It's just like, oh wow, yeah, that's how terrible it must be
Yeah.
to just have a lightsaber shoved into you.
And there's
I'd be terrified, really.
there's the whole thing too of the red sheet around the entire thing. Basically, the First Order burning to the ground
Yes.
while the fight is happening.
Yeah.
and
That's a literal sheet. They burned that set.
really,
Wow.
That's a literal canvas sheet that they lit with lights above it.
wow,
That room was built. That entire room was built.
that is incredible. And
Yeah.
then I believe they put the shot in way afterwards of Snoke being dead
yes.
to be
Oh
like,
my god, yeah.
hey everybody, he's dead.
Flopping out of the chair.
Right.
Yeah, when he
Hilarious.
like he slides off
Yes,
of himself.
yes.
Right.
And then we see the close up of his dead face.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that leads to the whole thing of Snoke dying, all the fights happening all at the same time, just incredible. And that leads to the lightsaber being pulled apart.
Yeah.
And the
That
hyperspace jump.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which the hyperspace jump, when we saw it all the first time, man, when the theater just goes quiet, obviously, and
Silence.
everyone was just like, oh.
You could,
Like, you could
hear,
hear people.
anyone that was next to you, you could hear them gasp.
Right.
You can see people just like freeze.
Right, like,
going from
what?
like watching a movie and like having things to pay attention to and just being like,
Yeah.
And then
oh. Yeah.
the sound of just like a metal hitting a lot of other metal at the
Yeah.
speed of light.
Yes.
Twing!
I really looked forward to this part of the commentary because I wanted to hear like the insider perspective, and there was a lot of not debate, but he consulted with a lot of people, specifically the VFX people, like how they wanted this to look. Like, what would it look like if? Because we hear about this all the time. If you don't get your calculations right, you'll run into a planet. But
Yeah.
what would that look like? And they
This.
finally got to do it, and the VFX people were just like, "What if we just go black, except for the
light.
yeah, the trail basically that it leaves, cleaving these things in twain."
Right.
And I think it was gorgeous,
Right.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
And then dropping the sound, of course, to help us just concentrate on the visuals.
And then let's wrap it up with the end. The end with Kylo versus Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Real cool.
Gorgeous.
When you watch it again, you realize Luke isn't leaving any footprints. Kylo
Yeah.
is leaving footprints. Kylo's making a mess of just everything while Luke is not.
Yep.
Yeah, I love seeing Kylo just get more and more unhinged.
Yep.
Even when he thinks like, okay, I have to make this move now, and like I can't be that anymore. I have to be serious.
Yep.
It's like no matter what you face him with, he just gets more and more off the rails. Like
Yep.
he's losing more and more of himself and losing more and more of his grip on things.
Right. Because he wasn't expecting to see Luke.
No. And actually, he was terrified of him. That's why he didn't go out and face him immediately.
Exactly.
He's like, destroy that. Destroy
Yeah.
him.
Right.
Kill him.
Every
right
gun we have on him right
Right.
now.
Because
Keep going. Don't
he's
stop.
probably frightened. I mean,
Yeah.
we know he's frightened
Yeah.
of Luke.
And Luke knew he was going to do that too. That's why he didn't actually go
Yeah.
in person. Let's talk about that for 1 second. That he went as basically a projection. Why? Well, I could try and get there, but I do know how to do this, so I'll
Yeah.
just do that.
I also like that his like force projection was like a little more put together
And a little younger.
than Island Luke, where like we see him and he's just like disgusting, and then it's him and he's like, I've run a comb through my beard, like don't worry.
I've dyed my beard.
I can't believe we didn't notice it the first time. So many
Same.
of us we were so like just wrapped up in the movie, like let's
Yep.
see this. But we didn't notice the things like no sound was coming from Luke,
Right.
Yep.
no footprints,
Right.
He's not kicking up any dust.
They didn't hit lightsabers ever.
Didn't touch,
Right.
He didn't
Yeah.
touch anything,
Exactly.
except Leia's forehead. But yes,
But I think Leia,
well, she knows.
But the thing too, I
Yeah.
think she knew. But also the thing too is we saw Kylo and Rey touch for a second.
Yes,
So
true.
there might be that impression of the Force, like they were touching ish.
yeah.
And that's why I think, like, he wasn't just a hologram. I think there was Force energy kind of going
Yeah.
on there.
Did anyone catch Luke's little wink to C-3PO?
Yeah, of course. yeah.
I just like to believe that like C-3PO was on the verge of being like, that's not him. That's not Master Luke. That's like,
awesome.
what? Of just
Right.
of him being like, I know you know. Like,
Did you know?
Shut
Don't
up.
say nothing.
shut up, please. 3PO.
Did you know that
That's awesome.
Mark Hamill, that was improv by him.
Oh, that's adorable.
He threw
The
the
wink.
wink to
Oh,
C-3PO.
I love that.
That's
Oh, okay. I need to jump back for a second.
okay.
The one part I cried the most, which I cry a lot in life, was help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
just
You're my only hope. Oh, buddy. That
The
and that
emotions.
what
Yes.
Luke says to R2 is so true, which is that's cheap.
Yeah.
And it was
Yep.
like, oh my God.
You had to get me with that.
That blew my mind.
It's even more special. they used the footage, obviously, from the original film. They used the same audio, but what the sound designer did was she put it on tape, took it into the back of the lot, and stomped on it on some gravel to make it like a little bit more authentic. That it was old. It was
Right.
just in R2's storage banks.
Right.
Oh, it's so special.
That was pure
R2.
magic.
It was.
Pure
Beautiful.
magic. And there was a great shot, too, of Chewie doing the stuff with the porgs and whatever. And if you look closely, you see Luke going into the Falcon behind him.
Yeah.
And then doing that walkthrough and everything, and like that old friend to
Yeah.
R2, and him being like, dude, what the heck, are you coming? He's like, no, I'm not coming. And then, yeah.
Beep, boop, beep, beep. Well, now you are.
Check this out.
R2 is really special in the universe, just in general.
Oh, yeah.
He's so special.
And in that way, it just reminded him, like, hey, you're Obi-Wan Kenobi now, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
And think about what Obi-Wan did. He taught you, so that's when he went and trained Rey.
Zero hesitation from Obi-Wan.
Yep.
Right, that's when he went and trained Rey, and then it was Yoda coming back that made him go, all right, I'm going full bore
Yeah.
onto this. But man, that R2-D2.
So special.
Oh,
All right, cool. Now that we've talked about this with Luke, jump back to his fight with Kylo.
Yes.
And how special it was. Okay, cool. So we fast forward. Kylo is like, I'm going to go face him one-on-one. Mm-hmm. They walk towards each other.
Yeah.
We finally... What was going through your guys' minds? You thought we were going to get... I mean, we thought it was Luke. We thought we were going to get this epic battle.
Yeah.
What did we... Did you think there was going to be some crazy outcome? What did we...
I don't want to be the nerd here, but I didn't think it was Luke the entire time.
Okay.
Because he looked different, and he also had the lightsaber we just saw blow up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't Luke. I don't know what it is.
I see.
But I don't think this is actually Luke.
Okay, great. So what did you think? Were you just like, I don't know?
I was on the ride. I was like, what's happening
Gotcha,
here?
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I was very much on the ride where it was just like, I don't know what I think is going to happen next, but
Yeah.
I just need something to happen.
Gotcha.
Like, I don't know what they're going to throw at me, so I don't even know what I would like to see.
Right,
Like,
okay.
what's going to happen? Just, it was such a moment of just like, okay, I didn't expect any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I even predict when I didn't even see this?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
What
Totally.
did you think?
I
Calhoun?
thought we were going to see Kylo lose, but Luke was going to spare him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know where it was going to go from there, but I was like, this is probably the path they'll take. I'm happy I was wrong.
Well, Kylo basically does lose.
Yeah.
He spends all of his time fighting a ghost
Yep.
when he should have been hunting down the Resistance, and that's what the movie ends off with: is like 15 people on the Falcon, and they are the Resistance now.
And Rey gets to lift rocks.
Yep. Right. So, we're about to. I gave out the question to people to rate. I urged them to rate the movie between 1 and 10. I think this is a good opportunity for us to say what we think it is, 1 and 10, before we go to the next break.
Okay.
I give it a 7.
Okay.
What do you think, Tabitha?
I give it an 8.
An 8.
I am also going to give it an 8.
Yeah. 7 for me because I had such a great time the first time, and now every time I see it again, I feel like it won't be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it.
I think it's an 8 for me because while I do have that same feeling,
Yeah.
I feel like every time I watch, I'm noticing something new. Though.
Yeah.
So there isn't that same initial spark, but like if you really do the work, like, and pay attention, there's almost always something new to try to find.
8 for you.
I'll say 8 because, and I didn't mention this at all this episode, believe it or not, but my biggest, the thing I love most about this movie now that we're past my first viewing, is how gorgeous it is.
Beautiful.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
shot so particularly beautifully that every shot I just really love.
It's so
good.
Everything that the way it was framed, the way it was lit. I just think it's a gorgeous film.
Right.
I sort of felt that way too, of just like when it looks this beautiful and we have such good acting from basically every single person.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you dislike a movie that's that well shot and that well acted?
Well, we will get to that in a second because I know a lot of people have said that same type of thing.
Oh,
Like,
great. I'm excited to hear
some
it.
people have said, like, as a movie, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But for me,
Yeah.
which is cool that
That's
people
really good.
realize that this, as a movie alone, is shot and acted insanely well.
Yeah.
So let's go to the last break, and we'll come back to what you guys said about The Last Jedi.
Calvin, shut up.
Oh.
Johnny, shut up.
Tyler, shut up.
It's the news.
It's the news that you can follow us on Instagram
Instagram.
you can follow us on Instagram.
Instagram.
This Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday. You can follow us at Chatter Squadron, all one word on Instagram.
Instagram.
Where else?
You can follow us on Facebook at Chatter Squadron Podcast.
You can join in on the discussions for these episodes there. Hey-o.
Hip hop horns. Be sure to rate and subscribe on iTunes.
Or anywhere you listen to podcast.
I feel like we're gonna give docs this year. All right, welcome back from the break, ladies and gents. And
Hi, ladies. Hi, gents.
we are in our discussion. We are not in our. I do this every time. We are in our questions and comments section, and this one is a big one.
Yeah, I said to basically rate The Last Jedi
To
between
basically, or just to do it.
to do it between 1 and 10. Let me start off. Let's go over to the
First of all, we got a lot of responses.
Oh yeah, that was when I made the post. I was like, we're gonna get a lot of responses on this one. Over to the Star Wars hub. Austin Uber says, 8. For some reason, a lot of people really liked that. 8.
They really liked that
There was
comment.
there was 10 reactions to
Oh,
that.
well, it seems other people agreed.
I guess so.
I got an 8 here, too, from Josiu or Josiu Pinon Nunez. I'm sorry for destroying your name. 8 for me, great film, but could have used a bit less of some sequences. No specifics.
Some. Henry Floors says 9 out of 10. I absolutely love The Last Jedi, but the plot of the film being a slow speed chase, that's the only thing that was silly for me. Understandable.
Totally understandable. I mean, it's kind of an odd thing, isn't it? A slow speed chase.
Man, there's a lot of really big ones that I don't really want to read entire. Marcus Bell, 5 or 6. It's pretty average. Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's average. Do you guys think it's average?
Do I think it's an average film?
Yeah.
No. Way
No.
above average.
Yeah. As a film,
Yeah.
Right.
way above average.
I also think as a script in the Star Wars universe, like just the story alone, is not average. It's
Right.
extremely unique.
Yeah.
I've got one from good old Brooke Recca. Well,
Hello.
Oh, hey, Mom.
She gives a 9. Hey, Mom.
I know she'll listen to this.
Right. Below her is Rick Villanueva, 8. Maybe the remake will be better. Winky face.
What?
Winky face.
You know, the petition for
I
the.
know.
They're joking. Come
Winky
on.
face.
Good one, Rick.
Dom McNeese says 2. Looked lovely, but played so fast and loose with a beloved character. Poor comedy, uninteresting subplot, introduction of religion in Star Wars.
Huh?
Missed the target completely.
I
Introduced the religion. Oh, Godspeed Rebels.
Oh, they did say Godspeed, which was kind of annoying, but I don't think that introduces anything concrete.
I didn't.
Yeah, literally, it's just another thing like, oh, there's a character named Rose. Do roses exist
Right.
in
There we
this
go, yeah,
universe?
yeah.
That-
Like, it's
I don't.
If you're gonna look at someone saying Godspeed as then be like, they're pushing the Christian agenda on Star Wars. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't see
No.
anything from that.
I
at
don't.
all.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't make that connection.
It's
There's
a-
plenty of other things that we could have connected to.
exactly.
Steve Mustar says 7. In Star Wars film, both movie and TV, Last Jedi still ranks above Episode 2 and 1, and the 1978 holiday special, with the holiday special edging out over Episode 1.
That's funny.
Okay.
I'll laugh at that. At least they gave a reason. I've got a 7 from Jess Smith, friend of my old show.
Oh.
A solid 7. It doesn't deserve the hate it gets. It should be commended for taking some serious risks. That's a great review.
Yeah.
That's a great review of a 7.
Huge risks in that one. On our Instagram, Neocast128 says 6. Despite some strong moments, it's overall a fairly weak entry. I will say I feel that it has the strongest acting out of any of the films in the saga.
I think it has the best acting. We
Yeah.
get Tabitha was saying we're blessed with so many close-ups.
Right.
And we are. We have how about that slow push in of Rey on the rock learning about the Force from Luke. If you watch the commentary, I know I sound like a broken record, but I did watch it with the commentary. They talk about how Daisy just nailed those shots. It's just, he's like, I don't even understand where she's pulling these emotions from with her eyes closed.
Yeah.
And he's right. It's a gorgeous sequence.
Yeah, the subtleties of facial acting, of just those close shots, the subtleties of just emotion. And it's like, I don't know how you can look at these people pulling off these performances and want more. It's
Yeah.
like, what more do you want from them?
Right.
Like, it's baffling to
hard
imagine what more they could offer.
Yeah.
Swing Washer on Instagram says 7. Story and character development were complete S. It was amazingly well made and polished. The movie didn't the soul, and feel of a true Star Wars movie. Feels like someone just slapped the Star Wars title on it and ostracized real fans.
I don't disagree that it felt different than a lot of Star Wars movies, and sometimes not like a Star Wars movie at all. But I don't think it ostracized or was meant to at all.
I also think 7 is a pretty high score to give
Yeah,
it
for something that you seem to dislike so heavily.
that much. Yeah.
Yeah, because you started with a 7, and then as it devolved into that, like I just like my eyes squinted a little bit. I was like, but
Yeah.
why not like a 4? Maybe
Yeah, that sounds like a 4.
yeah.
I got one from Blake Johnson, a frequent listener.
Hi, Blake.
He says, purely as a movie, I would say 8. It's very entertaining. Okay. And then he says, as a Star Wars movie, continuity-wise, I'd give it a 3. Rey being so powerful with very little training, ? He says. Everyone in the rebellion/resistance being at the exact same place they were 30 years prior at the end of Return of the Jedi, ? Not sure what he means there. The all-powerful Snoke being killed by someone who couldn't defeat a scavenger in the previous movie. So many fails. I feel like those are very well explained, actually, Blake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I happen
now-
to disagree with almost all of them.
The third one is pretty easily... We had a discussion about that. I won't bring that up again. But the middle one, I'm a little confused by. Everyone in the rebellion resistance being at the exact same place. What does he mean? Technologically? I mean, the resistance
Yeah.
was kind of a hodgepodge put together by one person,
Right.
Leia. And because the Republic was... what is that called?
Destroyed?
Not neutral. no, not neutral. But they were
Pacifist.
pacifists. So that, I mean, I feel like that's pretty explanatory.
Yeah.
I'll give a couple more. Star Wars Balance says a solid 7. It's not the worst thing ever, but it has its flaws. Overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are giving it 7s that really don't actually like it. But like that seems like
That
a
seemed
solid
like a
7
solid
review,
7.
Yeah,
where
I
it's like,
did.
yes, it's a 7. I liked it, but I didn't like everything.
Yeah.
But when you're gonna give a 7 and be like, let me tell you all of these things I really hate.
My Bay Cisco says, oh boy, says 10 heart. Good
Wait,
for you.
Good.
Like Cisco, that like
That's
this movie,
awesome.
good taste.
Good for them.
How's Cisco doing?
10 heart.
Tell him I said hi.
Hi, Cisco. Oh, I
We
wanna
entered
get-
the dragon yet?
Whoa, Trent Waddell says 5.8. That's the most specific.
That is very specific. Not quite a 6.
No, not quite a 6. It's 5.8.
Are you on our Instagram?
Yeah, on the Instagram. I'll try and end with a good one on the Star Wars Hub. Here, 9. It was everything I wanted. 1 point off for some editing issues, but they are small and hardly get in the way of enjoying the film. That is Jonathan. Oh boy, and I closed out of it.
Well, Jonathan,
Jonathan, oh boy, I closed out of it. It was great hearing from you.
Yeah,
What a
thanks
unique
for those
last name.
comments.
I think that's Dutch.
Sounds like it.
Oh boy, I closed out of it.
Oh boy, I closed out of it.
Well, Tabitha, thank you so much for joining us here on this table.
On it?
Yep. We move closer and closer to the table as the show goes on.
Yeah, yeah.
I
until we're right on
want
it.
you guys to just release some of the footage of it, and it's just all reshot with all three of us laying across the table.
Yeah, we need to do that after this.
A few, an hour solid of us just laying on the table.
How was it? How was it, Tabitha?
I had a lot of fun.
Good.
I had much fun.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. I would hope you would be. Is he actually happy for me?
I think he is, but he's acting really aggressive. Okay.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Oh, okay. I guess that's the end of the show.
I guess,
Thanks so much. We'll talk to you next Tuesday and every Tuesday. And oh man, Tyler's getting fumed. All right, farewell, guys. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Leave like everyone else has.
We're doomed.
Hey guys, thanks again for listening. And if you're looking for ways to support us, the absolute best way is to tell a friend. Subscribe to us on iTunes, as well as any other place that great podcasts can be found. Find us on social media at Chatter Squadron, and we'll be looking forward to reaching you every Tuesday.